Welcome to Unbreakable Latina.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Unbreakable Latina. This is your host Melina, and I'm really excited. This is my first episode, and it's kind of weird to be talking to myself in my room. And I'm taking the opportunity, since I have today off, to really sit down and be able to record a podcast. And I uploaded my intro today. Thank you so much to everyone who has followed the podcast on Instagram and now on Apple and Spotify. It means a lot to me. On today's episode, I want to talk about boundaries. And growing up in a Hispanic household, you don't really get taught that, at least in my personal experience and from seeing other family members. They teach us that we have to, be ride or die for our family. Like, no matter what, that's your father, that's your mother, that's your sister, that's your brother, es tu tía, es tu tío, that's your cousin, like, you better invite them. And I think that's pretty toxic, because sometimes you should not have relationships with those people. And in my personal life, I recently started implementing boundaries. And not everybody is a fan of that. I used to tolerate a lot because I didn't want to lose people. But I think when I hit my 30s, I realized that I don't need these people. And I don't really care if I don't have a relationship with them. And setting boundaries has changed my life completely. And I have had people tell me, like, wow, you've changed so much. But when it starts affecting your own emotional and mental health, it's time to cut those people off. And that's okay. And we need to start teaching people that it is okay to cut off relationships. It doesn't matter what kind of history you have. It doesn't matter if you're related. It doesn't matter, like, oh my God, I grew up with this person. Like, you don't owe anyone anything. And sometimes you outgrow friendships, you outgrow relationships, and that's fine. I remember seeing a lot of family members just bending over backwards, and I understand, and I am totally a huge family person. Like, I am ride or die for my family. But for my family members that are not toxic and that I have a healthy relationship with, and who they respect my boundaries and they respect my opinions, and that's fine. You don't have to agree with people all the time, but the moment that you're feeling like your boundaries are not being taken into consideration and people are, draining you emotionally, financially, like, you cut them off, and that's fine. I grew up in LA. My parents bought a house in the IE when I was, I believe, 13, 14. We moved out here. It was very rough for me. I was severely depressed when I moved out here. It was a culture shock. People were very different out here. I don't ever remember caring about what I was wearing, what shoes I had, what my parents drove. And when I came here, sorry people, but it was different. And people were like, oh my God, like, I have this new Hollister shirt, and I never grew up like that. So it was a huge struggle for me. And finally I made some friends, and I made some friends in middle school and had the same friends throughout high school. Once I hit college, like, we all had different lives, and I didn't realize how much different I was. Like, I always bonded with them because obviously, like, school projects, and like we would go partying together and everything was fine. But the moment that reality hit, when real life hit, I had to grow up fast. And you guys will hear more about why I had to grow up fast in the next episodes. And I had to financially provide for myself. Yes, I had a roof over my head, but when it came to school or any extra expenses, I had to work hard for that. And I remember the friends I had at the time, their parents were well off and they would pay for their things, and whatever money, if they did work, like, that was extra for them. And I constantly felt like not accepted by them. Like, I loved them. Like, they were my homegirls, but as soon as college hit, like, life just changed for me. And I remember them, like, my mom was like super strict with me, and she'd be like, oh, tienes que estar en la casa a las 10 de la noche, which was still like very lenient for me being like 20. And night, well, not even, I think I was like 17. So my mom was really lenient because growing up, she had a lot of rules. So she decided like to be kind of a friend to me, and I appreciate that. And I remember those friends would be like, oh, but do you have to be home at 10? Like, we don't want to take you. And I didn't have a car. So I started feeling like I was like, como un estorbo. Like, I was just in their way. So, like, little by little, they started doing things I didn't like and things that, like, yeah, we all did crazy stuff when we were that age, but, well, not all of us, but I did. And I just started seeing like these people are not for me. And like I would be like, oh my God, but like, I'll have no friends. Like if I cut off all these people, like I'd be such a loner. At the time, I don't know, I didn't have a boyfriend. Like I had a few college friends, and I like stayed in those friendships even though I knew that they weren't good for me. And I don't know what happened one day. Like I can't even remember. It was probably some petty drama. But I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be friends with these people anymore. Like, they're not good for my mental health. They're not good because I'll probably get in trouble with the things that they're doing. And from one day to the other, I was just like, I don't want to be friends with them. And establishing that boundary was very hard for me. It was very, very lonely. And I remember, like, crying because I had no friends. And I had worked so hard to keep these friendships and so much history and like all the people that I can be like very antisocial, but I was very social, and a lot of those friends I introduced them to a lot of people. And not that they didn't introduce me to people, but I did. And the moment that I was like, I don't want to be friends with these people, they're not good for me, and it was very lonely. So you can say that establishing boundaries can make you very lonely at first because it's like that's all you're used to. You're used to taking shit from people all the time. And me cutting off those friendships, like, it just helped me so much to grow. And I started seeing, like, damn, they weren't really my friends. Like, because if something happened, I probably wouldn't be able to count on them. And maybe it was just me growing up fast, or maybe it was just me being a bitch. Like, I don't know. But I remember, like, there was a very, very lonely time in my life where I had no friends. And for a lot of years, I didn't have a lot of friends. And I think it was like me going through so many things in my personal life. Not me here getting emotional, recording a podcast. Oh my God. I am like the most sensitive little biatch. Anyways, so I have a friend named Vidi, and Vidi and I met at work. And we just bonded over our traumas. And it's funny, like I just had breakfast with her this weekend, and we were talking about how like we used to joke around. I think it was like 2019 when we were working together, and we'd be like, you know what, like Vidi, I'm tired of being nice. Like I'm just gonna be selfish now, and we would say like selfish 2020, selfish 2020, like selfish in the year of 2020. That's when we were gonna start is like basically establishing boundaries and cutting off people that were not good for our lives. And it's funny that I think about it now, and I feel like we manifested that. Like I started realizing that some people were just not good for my life, and I cut off a lot of people 2019, 2020, and it has made me the happiest that I've ever been. And she also has cut off a lot of people, and we look back at it now and then it's like we were just those locas like at work complaining about stuff, and like we manifested cutting off people. And I know she's the happiest she's ever been. I know I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I gotta say, establish your freaking boundaries. Like, I do not have a relationship with my dad, and I will talk about more why. But people would guilt trip me so much, and by people I mean family, and even like some friends would be like, "Oh, but that's your dad, dude. Like you can't just cut off your dad." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can. If a family member, although it's like my blood related family member, it's my father. He helped me he helped me be who I am today. But the moment that I realized that he was not good for my mental health and I decided to completely cut him off, and it sounds really fucked up, but life has changed so much for me. And I've never felt so happy to be so selfish. And it's not in a negative way. It's about me putting myself first for once. And it's been great. And I don't regret it. And I encourage you, if you feel like someone is affecting your mental health, is affecting your happiness, you establish your boundary. You say, hey, I can't do this for you anymore. And it sounds like I'm saying like boundaries are cutting off people, but sometimes it does mean that. And there's other ways to have like boundaries. Like you could say like, hey, I can't do this for you anymore. Like, please respect the fact that I'm not going to be there for you if you're going to be like this. And if you don't want to respect that, then I don't want to have a relationship with you. And that comes too with like romantic relationships. I was in a long-term relationship from on and off for like 6-7 years. And the moment that I started having boundaries in my relationship, my ex would say like, wow, like you've changed so much. You this, you that, you this, you that. And I got tired of hearing it, and it wasn't a good relationship. I mean, it wasn't always bad. I can't like bash it. But the moment that I started saying like, no, I'm not okay with this. No, I don't want this in my life. This is what I want. And he didn't want the same thing. And I was just like, this isn't for me anymore. And it took me a long time to get there. And it's part of me growing up. It's part of my traumas. I went to therapy. I figured who I wanted to be and what I was okay with allowing people to do to me or to say to me or to make me feel a certain way. You have the power to not allow people to break down those boundaries. You have that power. And if you have to lose relationships and friendships and whatever it is, if it's a job, if it's anything, like you have the right, you're the only one responsible for your happiness. And a lot of people like could be like, oh no, life has sucked for me, and life has sucked for me. But I choose to make it better. And yeah, I have my moments. Yeah, I have my moments be like, oh, like, why did I have to go through all this? But, talking to people and like my friends are like my therapists, like really, like therapy is expensive. So I talk to my friends and I relate to them. And I realize that a lot of us go through stuff and we hide it. And the reasons that we are who we are and we do what we do is because of how we grew up. But you have the choice to change that. You have the choice to change the narrative. You don't have to be a toxic person. You don't have to accept treatment from people that you don't deserve. And like I said, if that means cutting off people, that's okay. Trust me, your life is going to be better. So much better. I didn't realize how emotional like talking about this was going to make me. I actually was just texting my friend and I'm like, whoa, like I can't believe I'm in tears. And it's just my first episode. And it makes me happy to be able to talk about this because I know a lot of people struggle with the same things and it's frowned upon to talk about it. Or like I said, people are so negative, like, oh no, like you can't cut off people. You like, why are you being so mean? I get that a lot. I get that. Like, Melina is so mean. I am not mean. I've just learned how to use my voice. I've learned how to not be a pushover, because I was a pushover for a long time because I didn't want to lose people in my life. I cherish relationships so much and I didn't want to lose people in my life. But the moment that I started losing myself was the moment that I decided, like, this isn't for me. So I guess this is how it ended, guys. So please do not hesitate to establish boundaries with people, because you are responsible for your happiness. And if people are not bringing happiness to your life, establish those boundaries and see how soon those relationships end, because those people do not deserve you in your life. Thank you guys so much for listening to my first episode. I am excited to record more. I didn't think it'd be easy to talk to myself, but apparently it was. And please don't forget to follow me at Unbreakable Latina on Instagram. Tell your friends, tell your homegirls, tell your comadres, your compadres, whoever wants to listen to the podcast. I appreciate all the support. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to Unbreakable Latina. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.